Hey everybody, welcome back to 52 Weeks of Prepping. This is lesson number 4, communications. So that's a very big, bold category, and I'm not going to obviously get into every single aspect of it, but I want to hit on a couple of high points and give you some more food for thought. So when I was young, back in the Stone Ages, back before cell phones, something that I thought was a really great idea that my mother did is we made up a family code word. And the purpose of the code word was that if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm friends with your mom, come home, you need to come with me, she's in trouble, let me take you to her right now," that we knew not to go with that person unless they said the code word. I thought that was such a great idea. So consider that, particularly if you've got kids, make up a family code word. We're always on our cell phones and we depend upon our cell phones for everything. And yet we have very simple issues like, do you actually remember anyone's phone number? Does anyone know anyone's phone number anymore? So I made up a little wallet card from me and my wife, and on one side is my friends and family, and on the other side is her friends and family. We each have one of these. It's people who are both local, within the same city, within the same state, and then some out-of-state people. So if there was some great big huge disaster, we'd have a couple of different numbers to check in on. So if you ever lose your cell phone, battery dies, it gets destroyed, here's a very simple, easy way to have some critical information in an itty-bitty little card. So I think this is an excellent thing for anyone and everyone to do, whether you've got kids or not. But I know that I've got backup of contacts of half a dozen people, both on my side and her side. So strongly recommend. I think for people of any age, and children or not, have a meeting place, a plan, where if something happens, whatever, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna meet? Obviously it's gonna depend upon what the disaster is. My wife very rarely leaves the house. She works at home. We only have one car, but I have told her even before that, go home. Wherever you are, if something happens, go home. We are the most well-stocked and supplied here. Just get home. And she knows that if I'm at work, something happens, I will come home. I will find a way to get home. Now, depending upon what your disaster situation is, if you have hurricanes or tornadoes or tsunamis or flood, that obviously might be possible. But sit down and discuss with your family. If you go back to lesson 1, what are you preparing for? Use that as a guideline. Figure out what your greatest fear is, and then decide, are we meeting at home? Are we meeting someplace else? Where are you going? Back before the COVID days, when we were all in the office, my best friend, him and his wife lived really far out of town, and our apartment was much closer to downtown where his wife works. And I told him and his wife, if 9/11 happens or something like that and she can't get home, that his wife is welcome to come to our place because it was closer. So decide what your emergency is and decide where a meeting place is. And even on a smaller scale, if there's a house fire or something like that in the middle of the night, we meet at the tree across the street. We meet at the stop sign at the end of the block or the mailboxes. So that way everybody knows if you scatter, this is where we're going to rendezvous. So really, really, really simple things that you don't think about until after the situation happens. So let's talk about greater levels of communication. This is a Baofeng. If you're on this channel, the overwhelming likelihood is that you own one of these. If you don't own one of them, I strongly recommend that you don't buy them. They're not very good radios. It's been well documented. Their signal output is not great. Their quality control is not great. I obviously own one. I own 3 of them. I use them for developmental testing, but not something that I would recommend. I would suggest that you buy a true GMRS. If you're not a ham radio operator and you just want something, a true GMRS Midland radio would be my recommendation. You get them that have USB charging, those that have weather channels in them, etc. Much better quality than this. Regardless of what you choose, have a radio communications plan, meaning what channel are we meeting on? If you're a ham radio operator, you understand my wife and I are both hams, and we have picked a simplex channel on both VHF and UHF, and it's programmed into our radio as the love channel. I have love V1 and love U2, and it's programmed into every radio that I own. So if we are separated, she's got a radio, that is a direct simplex channel that we know we will rendezvous on. For those of you who are not ham radio operators, or for those of you who bought a Baofeng and just decided that you're gonna use your radio, you don't care about a license, here's a couple of high points on radio stuff. You have repeaters, which are kind of like cell phone towers, scattered all over your city, depending on how big your city is. But you're gonna have hundreds and hundreds of people trying to hit that one repeater in the event of an emergency situation. You imagine 100 cars trying to go down a single lane highway. That also assumes that that repeater has a generator or emergency backup power. I found out a couple years ago that the primary repeater in Austin does not have a battery backup system. It may have been improved since then, but it didn't. The term simplex is for direct connection, direct connect between two radios, just plain old walkie-talkie, talk to me here, okay? So there's no in-between repeater to get in the way. The range is a lot less, obviously, but you have nothing to worry about. You have no, there's no external factors limiting that other than range. But you know, if the repeater goes down, it doesn't matter. So simplex is a direct connect. GMRS radios do have repeaters, some of them, at certain channels. But again, what if that repeater goes down? Now you're out of luck. Or if you have 1,000 people all in your city trying to hit that one repeater all at the same time, you're probably not going to get through. So, depending upon if you're GMRS or FRS or Marine or ham, pick a frequency or a channel, whatever you want to call it, and denote that as your meeting place. This is where we are going to meet virtually on the radio. So you know how to find each other, and then practice with it. Practice and practice and practice. Steph and I have done multiple test runs with our radios on our love channel, on our simplex channel. We know kind of where the range is and isn't. It's not very good, but at least we've tried it. She knows, and I know, that and I usually will keep one in my backpack when I'm out and about. They're not gonna reach from my office to the house. It's just not gonna happen. I'm working on improving that, but we know that because we've tried it. So please, 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 whatever radio you have, test it. Please test it before an emergency. So that's it for today. Homework assignment is to make a laminated card for all of your family members with contact phone numbers of them, people locally, people out of city. Make a meeting place plan for your family, depending upon the event. And if you're a radio operator, pick a channel and make sure that every radio has that plugged in, programmed in. So that way, if you pick up the radio, you know where to virtually meet. So thanks, and stay tuned for the next one.